we started talking about Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
Because he was originally supposed to be Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a schedule conflict. Like he was doing Magnum PI or something.
He couldn't get out. Yeah, Magnum PI wouldn't allow him to film Indiana Jones.
Right.
Because he's under contract.
So I guess we kind of started wondering, like, how would it have changed his career?
Yeah.
And or Harrison Ford's career, but like how would it have changed Tom Selleck's career if he had ended up being Indiana Jones?
Yeah. I mean, two things would happen. One is, what would Harrison Ford's career look like? Would Harrison Ford have been in Blade Runner? Would Harrison Ford have been in any of the, like, Regarding Henry, Mosquito Coast, just these slew of kind of like smaller personal acting films? Those are films that are like a little bit more at his acting chops films.
Yeah.
Where they're not action films. They're just...
So it's like he got to a point in his career where he could start picking scripts. And he's like, I could do whatever I want to. Like, I'm Han Solo and I'm Indiana Jones. So I want to do this one, even though maybe it doesn't pay as much, maybe whatever. Like, this is a script I want to do because this is a character I want to play.
Yes.
So yeah, like there is a possibility that maybe that doesn't happen.
I don't think it does.
Maybe he's typecast. Now he's like just doing sci-fi movies.
I don't think it does, because Indiana Jones is a starring role, and he proved with Indiana Jones that I can be in a starring role and it can be super successful. Yeah. And Han Solo is kind of the side character.
That's true.
So if he was never Indiana Jones, I think we would have probably had Harrison Ford as leading roles in certain movies, but if they didn't do well because they just were like the Mosquito Coast.
It's 6 days, 7 nights.
When I say the Mosquito Coast, everyone's like, huh? But that's the movie where he met River Phoenix.
Okay.
River Phoenix plays his son in the Mosquito Coast. Then when it came time to cast the young Indiana Jones, in Last Crusade, Harrison Ford suggested River Phoenix because he's already mimicking me. Like, he would do it as a joke.
Yeah.
So he's already kind of got me down. Like, there's the kid you want to pick.
Huh.
Yeah. So
that's a fun little fact. I didn't know that.
So Harrison Ford would have been in Mosquito Coast. It would have done, I don't know what it did, but no one knows about it, so it probably wouldn't have done very well. And he probably wouldn't have had a career like he did. He would have just been still doing side stuff here and there, kind of like Carrie Fisher did. Carrie Fisher never really had that like leading lady stuff. She was in like The Burbs and When Harry Met Sally and stuff like that.
Yeah, so for those that may be naysayers and are saying like, no, he was still in Star Wars, so that would be big. It's like, well, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher did not have the career that Harrison Ford had.
Yeah.
So it's like it was Indiana Jones that maybe like really launched his career where now he could do anything. He could do whatever he wants.
And Mark Hamill did something that most actors do, which is really smart, which is you
diversity.
You're in a role. Like Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate, you get sort of typecast to that role, and then you pick a completely different style character, like in Midnight Cowboy. So that people think of you now as an actor who could just be in movies, as opposed to you're the graduate guy playing the graduate guy in every single movie you're in.
Right.
So Mark Hamill was in The Big Red One. I think it's called The Big Red One, a war film, where he plays a much more cowardly, not likable character. Yeah. And he does a great job. And I could not watch it. Because I couldn't stand.
You hate to see Luke like that.
Yeah, I didn't want to see Luke Skywalker as a coward.
Yeah.
The Last Jedi. No one does. Because it's not his character.
I've lost all hope.
Yeah.
Now watch me drink this green milk.
But I think he made the right decision. I think it's just too difficult for the audience to see him as anything other than a heroic Luke Skywalker style character. Yeah.
It might have helped if he were more of like an intelligent strategist villain.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like an intelligent strategist villain is cool.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, like he's not Luke anymore, where it's like, I want to, hang out with the guy, and like, if he asked a favor, I'd do it because he's a nice guy. Like now he's like showing his acting chops without like being unlikable.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So Tom Selleck is in Indiana Jones. I'm going to tell you a couple key differences that are going to happen.
Okay.
One is Tom Selleck's a little bit taller than Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
So the on-screen look might be a little off with the leading lady because he's going to be so much taller than her. But I don't think that's a problem at all.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck is going to have a mustache.
He's going to have a mustache, yeah.
Tom Selleck probably won't be doing his own stunts, which is the big one.
That's what I was going to say. Which means, so what you're going to get is the boulder scene.
Yes.
When he's running toward the camera and the boulder's behind him, what you're going to get is a stuntman doing this with their hat.
Yes. Yes.
And the scene is going to not have the same impact.
Yes. And the trip wasn't in the script either when Harrison Ford is running from the boulder. And he trips. He tripped
by accident, yes. Yeah. And the boulder, so obviously it wasn't an actual stone, but it was made of plaster, and it was upwards of like 500 or 800 pounds, something like that. Yeah. So it still would have really beat the crap out of him if it caught up to him.
It could, if it hits you the right way, it could potentially break your back or your neck.
It could kill you.
Yeah.
So like he did however many takes, 4 or 5 takes of it, and then like in one of the takes he trips and lands on his knee and stands up and keeps running because there's a 500-pound ball of plaster coming after him. And then I remember like Steven Spielberg at some point said, like, that was maybe the dumbest thing that I ever did was allowing Harrison Ford to do that.
Yeah, and the first scene of the movie. No.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it first scene? We just killed.
We need to recast him after all.
Looks like we'll get Tom Selleck after all. But I don't know if Tom Selleck would have done the stunts himself. And there's 2 scenes from Raiders that are always shown everywhere, and one of them is the boulder scene. And that's because it's Harrison Ford running away from a boulder.
Yes.
And the other one is him being dragged behind the truck because that's Harrison Ford being dragged behind the truck.
And he like looks up at the camera while he's dragged.
Yeah.
And it was why Harrison Ford opted to do his own stunts, is because he said like these scenes are going to be a lot more powerful if I'm looking at the camera when it's happening, so people know that like, oh, that's indie.
Yes.
Like you kind of get pulled out of it a little bit when it's like there's a stunt guy who's like...
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, I've got a personal story about this that I think applies. When we were doing the Golden Boys.
Okay.
I was playing a character, and my character gets arrested and he gets handcuffed.
Yes.
And you were saying, like, you don't actually even need to be in this shot where the officer is, like, basically just, kneeing on me. You don't even need to be in this shot. And I was like, no, like, have me in the shot and have me handcuffed because for the actor, it's going to make it more real. Yeah. And then for the camera, if you want to like, get a different shot too, it'll be good. And I got to tell you, getting handcuffed is not comfortable at all.
No.
It hurt.
And,
It hurt quite a bit, but I think it made for a better shot though. Just having, even in the shots where you don't see me, just knowing that he doesn't have to make that extra leap of, now I have to also pretend that there's a person here who's handcuffed. He doesn't have to do that as an actor. He can just focus on the other stuff. Yeah. But so I've got my boulder thing too. Not just you, Harrison Ford. I've got
Well, what was really funny about that was that you forgot. You were supposed to bring the crash mat.
Yeah.
Specifically for you, so that you could take a fall, and you're like, I forgot it.
It's the only thing.
You're just gonna have to take a fall onto the hardwood floor.
So I just took. We threw a pillow down for my face.
That's true. Yeah. So we didn't want you to break your nose.
Yeah.
But no, it was the same with Confined. Like the opening scene of Confined, is like my leg is chained to the floor, and I go to take a step and it pulls, and then I fall face first. And the shot that I wanted was for my face to land like right in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So I just like padded up like my arms as good as I could, and my ribs, so that I could just take the fall without getting too hurt. But I was like, it's just gonna look a lot better if like you see my face like right when I like take that fall, and then like the dust kind of like goes up. I really like that shot.
I like that shot too.
I was very proud of that shot.
So yeah, we've got our drag behind the truck experience too.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Harrison Ford.
Our minuscule stunt work.
Yeah, I fell about 8 inches.
It's different.
Yeah, so you know,
when you're,
I know what it's like too.
It's hard when you're not. It's hard when you're not as tough as Harrison Ford is to do this stuff. It's just as hard for me. As it is for him.
I understand, you know, something like that with like Tom Selleck is like I'm not gonna put myself through that, you know. But then like it would change his career, I guess, not only in that there's some like action roles that Harrison Ford's known for, that a lot of times in Hollywood they'll have the same people auditioning for the same types of roles. Yeah. And they'll end up picking somebody who's like probably the bigger star, or sometimes like whoever's cheaper, like whatever it is that fits with their vision, their budget. This surprised me when I heard it, but Jack Black and Philip Seymour Hoffman would often audition for the same part. And it makes sense if you watch something like Twister.
Yeah.
Where Philip Seymour Hoffman's playing basically a Jack Black character. Yeah. And then you see something like Bernie, where Jack Black is playing what would be a really good Philip Seymour Hoffman character. Yeah. And they both do good jobs, like on either side. You just wouldn't expect it, but they audition for the same stuff. Yeah. So the same kind of thing would probably happen with Tom Selleck, where like he's now auditioning, Harrison Ford's auditioning, but Tom Selleck's getting it. Yes. So he might end up in something like The Fugitive. Yeah. Or Air Force One, or you know.
Yeah. And Tom Selleck, I think, would be very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he would. I actually think I like the idea of him as Air Force One. He seems kind of presidential. And he's kind of more that soft-spoken, like, you know, like, yeah, okay, you know.
Would he keep the mustache, or do you think he'd have to shave the mustache to play the president?
I think, you know, I think it would just be too iconic. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe like Gary Oldman can like punch the mustache off.
Oh, wow.
Good
then, one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
there's another mustache. There's another mustache under it. It's an even bigger mustache under it.
It's like Airplane. He pulls a mustache off. There's another mustache underneath.
That doesn't happen in Airplane. You talk about the glasses?
No, he does it with sunglasses.
Yeah, he does it with sunglasses in Airplane. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I am trying to think, though, how the boulder scene would have been shot if they had a stunt double filling in. And it would have been the, what's it called? But would they have then done the close-up shot of the face with the, like...
with, like, someone off camera throwing dust at him?
Yeah, what was it called where they, like, rotor-screened? Or they
Rotoscope.
They rotoscoped the actor out for the background. Or they would do kind of a rear projection, like a projection screen in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Would they do that, which wouldn't look as good?
No, yeah. It wouldn't look as good. Man, I don't know. I don't know if they would do that because it's Spielberg. Yeah. He's still at the helm.
Well, they did it in Temple of Doom when the raft is falling.
Oh,
you know, they have they have scenes like that. You know what I mean? Because it's like you can't actually have the actors doing that, especially when you have how old was he? 10, 12? The kid who was in it.
Short Round. Yeah. I don't know. He was like around that age, like 11 or something. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think that Spielberg knows that if you can't get the shot that has the actor's face in it, then what is sometimes just as effective is a very, very wide shot. Where it's like you see the little guy and then the boulder getting closer to him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that he would probably do something like that. Like he'd probably try and avoid. Spielberg's a pretty good director. I don't know if you know, but he'd probably try and avoid the silly like stuntman running toward the camera holding his hat.
Yeah.
Like I mean, anytime I see it, it takes me out of it. It's like, man, and I feel bad because it's like, this is a great stuntman. You know, they're doing a really awesome job at this.
Yeah.
But that silly, like, you know, Jackie Chan run with the hat blocking the face, I'm like, it just takes me out of it a little bit.
Do you think they'll just start digitizing the actor's face on the stunt doubles? Is that what they're going to start doing? I mean, they probably have already done it, but I'm just...
Yeah, but it doesn't look good. I mean, it doesn't look good yet.
Yeah.
They might get it to a point where it looks good. I think it's going to feel off.
Yeah.
Like there's just, you know what it is that everything is extremely clean now. It's polished. Mm-hmm. So you see someone like, you know, hanging on to like a helicopter.
Yeah.
And like you see everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, now let's add a wind effect. And it's like, okay, hang on a sec. Like if we were actually seeing this dude hang off of a helicopter in an 80s film, where you can't really fake it, then what you would see is like kind of a grainy film because they'd need a smaller camera. Like they might use a smaller grade of film that's like, it's not 35 millimeter, like maybe it's 16 because they have to like get a camera that can go up there. So it doesn't look crisp, it doesn't look clean, but it looks awesome.
Yeah. And
it looks awesome because you can feel it. You can feel that, like, man, somebody went up there and did that, and that was really dangerous and it was crazy. And like you would see it in older movies. Some of the action scenes are kind of a lower quality picture. And it's like, it's not like they didn't do that on purpose. It's like they needed to get a smaller camera so they could actually do, or, you know, or whatever, like whatever the case was. So yeah, I don't know. I think that the evolution, if you want to call it that, of film where it's like, no, everything has to look super pristine, best possible picture.
Yeah.
And then if we put CG in it too, then it's like, okay, yeah, but now like I can tell that it's not real. I know it's not real.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not grainy. It has a grain effect on it, you know? Like it's not dirty. It has a dirt effect on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, so when you see somebody actually doing something, it's like it's not a beautiful picture, but it's awesome, you know?
Yeah.
Like people doing impressive things is impressive and people like seeing that. I'd rather see that than like the most beautiful image in the world of the coolest stunt and have a cartoon character do it. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting. What you should watch.
Yeah.
And this is I think a fascinating one for everyone because it's not the greatest of movies, but watch Predator 2 with Danny Glover.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's not, because they wanted Arnold for the movie and they ended up with Danny Glover, and Danny Glover does a really good job actually. But the reason why you want to watch it is for the set design.
Okay. Yeah.
And like pay attention to that stuff, and you'll have such an appreciation for how they used to make movies, because they're in the police station, and it feels like a police station. It's a little bit run down. Yeah. He's in the chief's office, and the chief's got like, you know, TVs, and his desk is cluttered with stuff, and there's just stuff everywhere. They get into like a gunfight, and there's dust flying and stuff breaking, and you're like, wow, this feels like real.
Yeah.
Almost like you're at like an amusement park and it's actually happening. The smoke is actually happening. Or then you watch something today and all that stuff feels, for some reason, even when it's real, it ends up feeling, because they're filming on digital, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It ends up feeling fake.
Yeah. Something that I feel like I don't see a lot of now is that kind of noir or like neo-noir. Where, like, there are scenes in especially like action movies or horror movies from like the 80s, where I would say as much as 80% of the shot is in shadow. Or like, you know, like 70%, whatever. 70% of the shot is dark, so dark that you can't make out detail.
Yeah.
And like you're not seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger or Danny Glover. What you're seeing is a backlight reflecting off of this part of his face and this part of his nose and this part of his chin.
Yeah.
And everything else is in shadow. And you could see just enough to tell that, oh, that's Danny Glover.
Yeah.
And everything else is dark, and it feels like you feel what the light is supposed to tell you. Like it's what you're supposed to feel from the light. Modern day film doesn't do that very often. Yeah. Now it's like, no, like you want that, you know, that perfect light, that contrast where it's like you can see really good of one side's face and then like a little bit in shadow of the other side's face, but you still want to be able to see the actor. And then everything else, like you don't want anything that's too bright, you don't want anything that's too dark. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's a great looking picture, but I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you need to make a decision that doesn't just benefit the cinematographer. Like, hey, look at my work. Yeah, great. Yeah. It's beautiful. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
And that's something that you feel in like 80s movies a lot.
Let me ask you this question.
Okay.
I'm just going to say it. I don't know if I should. How much of that is because we don't have actors, we have models?
Oh.
That's really what's going on, right?
That's a good one.
Because Danny Glover is an actor.
Yes.
Watch Danny Glover and stuff. He'll have like in intense scenes. He'll have just tons of sweat all over his face.
Yeah.
You know, he's not super interested in how he looks on screen.
Yeah. He's not vain.
Yes. He's
like, what's going to be good for what's going to be good for the role.
Yes. And now you have. You know, I love Tom Cruise, but the fact that Tom Cruise didn't do Iron Man because they're not showing his face because he's in a mask is like kind of
Here's the thing, though. I understand because I think it's different with Tom Cruise.
Okay.
The Iron Man thing, I don't think that it was a vanity thing. I think that it was, no, if I'm going to do Iron Man, I'm going to do my own stunts. And you can't tell that I'm doing my own stunts if there's a mask on my face. I think that's what it was. So I don't think it was a vanity thing per se. I don't think that it was like, no, like you need to be able to see that it's Tommy. Like, no, I think that it's like, no, I'm going to do my own stunts. And they're going to be like, no, he's a cartoon character. And then you're like, you know, inside this, like it's just a close up of your face. And he's like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems more like the route that Tom Cruise would have taken. But yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of modern day actors where I feel like that was a really incredible performance, and I can't help but feel that. And there aren't really a lot of actors that I feel like are stars. Mm-hmm. You know, they're huge, big movie stars because they're in a movie that's really big, like all of the Marvel cast. They're all huge stars, but Marvel is really big. Any other movie that they're in, I don't go out of my way to watch it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was not true in the 90s. Tom Cruise picks a movie and people go out of their way to watch it. Tom Cruise is in Jerry Maguire, which is not an action movie. It's no Mission Impossible. People go out of their way to watch it. And then it's like, wow, that was an incredible movie. This is a great actor. What's he going to do next? Cocktails? I can't wait. And then they go and they watch Cocktails.
I love Cocktails.
Cocktails, it's fun. It's fun. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But, you know, I enjoy watching it. But no, yeah, you're right. I think that is definitely part of it. You know, the actors, sometimes they understand, like, the movie comes first. And it's counterintuitive, but it's like, it ends up helping their career. Like, oh, here's an actor who, like, really put the movie first. And yeah, that does definitely make a difference.
Wow. All that from Tom Selleck.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then River Phoenix would have had a mustache. It wouldn't have been River Phoenix.
Well, then River Phoenix may have potentially been Indiana Jones.
What?
If they kept making Indiana Jones films, they potentially maybe would have had River Phoenix play Indiana Jones. Because you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because Harrison Ford aged out. If they wanted to we're going to bring it back, River Phoenix is, a good 10, 15, 20 years younger than Harrison Ford. So
I think that was probably their plan. Because he passed away. How soon after? It wasn't too long after, was it?
No,
because it was early 90s or something.
I mean, he was in my own private Idaho, and I think he was a little bit older in that one. But yeah, I don't remember how many years past that it was.
Well, I think that was the original plan. Was okay, now because Spielberg directed it, but it was written by George Lucas. And I think George Lucas was like, "Hey, Spielberg, you could do this movie for me only if you do all three." And and that was the deal. Was you could do Indiana Jones, but I want you to direct all three. And Spielberg said yes, so he directed all three. So he, at the very beginning, planned a trilogy, just like Star Wars. And I think that he had the intention of doing a prequel trilogy. And that was why he brought in River Phoenix and was like, "All right, here's young Indiana Jones." Yeah. And then 5 years from now, when I start my prequel trilogy, people are going to be like, "Oh my gosh," and they're going to want to see the young
River
Indiana
Phoenix.
Jones trilogy.
Yeah. And people would have been psyched to see River Phoenix play Indiana Jones.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that was the plan all along.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame it didn't happen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is a shame.